My name is Grace Ann Jarrett. I am 28 years old, and this video is about my sophomore year of the rest of my 20s. This is a follow-up to my first video, which you can find on my channel, and that one was about my 26th year of life and everything that happened within it, and you can go watch that to hear about it. Like I said, I'm 28 already, so I missed making this video while I was 27, but I feel like that's still a really important part of the whole process that it has been for me. So let me tell you about my sophomore year of my 20s, age 27. As some of you already know, I've been an artist and a musician my whole life. Started the business portion of that back in 2017 when I tried to promote my website and start doing affiliate marketing and get all my stuff out there. But it's been quite some time since then. I've had a lot of life events during that time, and after my mom passed in 2021, I took over my family's house and I started writing music. I'd been studying so that I could write music for a very long time before that, but I finished my first song, or I was pretty close to it at the time that my sophomore year started. I'd been working on my art business, trying to get everything out there, and a big highlight of my sophomore year of my 20s was that I started business coaching. This was in September of 2022 was when I started, and I did a 6-month business coaching program. My mom passed away in August 2021, and a few months later I was able to get a forbearance on my mortgage on my family's house. So from March 2022 until March 2023, I didn't have to pay a mortgage. That came in 4-month segments or 3-month segments, one of those. I had to call and get the time extended, and I was using that so that I could increase my income basically to keep the house. I ended up with a bartending job that allowed me to do that instead, but you know, I had the time to not have to pay rent or mortgage. I figured I'd take the opportunity to invest in my business and see how far it could take me, because best case scenario, you know, business pops off and I make all the money, and worst case scenario, you know, I still learn something, and I learned a lot. So I definitely had a really positive experience business coaching. I worked with my coach Kendall for 6 months. Kendall is based in Texas, and she has a focus on anti-perfectionism. She works a lot with neurodivergent entrepreneurs and people who have reasons to have low energy, whether that's chronic illness or neurodivergency. I was going through a grief process and loss and everything that came with that, you know, let alone what the other things that had to do with my mental health. So I certainly, in this time period, I'd say I qualify as a low energy entrepreneur, and that's something that Kendall really, those are the people that Kendall focuses on helping. Some of my goals in doing this were to get my website open, because I had the website already and the bones and everything, but I didn't actually have it open. I wanted to expand my social media presence. I wanted to participate in local art markets, and I had a song that I want to say we finished it like right on the last month that I was still doing business coaching. So we were getting really close, and I was hoping to put that out there. It's still not out there, but it's written. So yeah. One thing that I talked about in my freshman year of my 20s video were that I had certain goals that I wanted to accomplish by the time that I'm 30, and I definitely still have those defined to myself, although I didn't really define them in the video, and I'm still gonna kind of just keep it loose and simple here. 2 things that I really want to do by the time that I'm 30. The first one is that I would love to have at least 1 song released, if not many more. And I would like to not have children until at least after I am 30, so not any sooner than that. And so, as I mentioned, I have finished writing my first whole song, woohoo, fucking exciting as hell. It's literally like my biggest life goal. I almost said die. Once I did that, I was like, okay, I can die now. We're good. I'm not gonna die anytime soon. God, I hope not. I hope to be a fucking old bitch. But, yeah. Song's written. So whatever happens next in life happens. And as far as that second one goes, obviously that involves another person. That's something that I mentioned in the last video. And I kind of brought that up to see if he would watch my video. I don't think he did, but, you know, we've continued to communicate since then, so we'll see how all that plays out. I have to say, I'm like 4B movement all the way at this point, or like 3/4 of the way. Like, I'm definitely still dating this man, but I'm very protest. So yeah. Another thing that I mentioned in my previous video is how I'm treating my 20s as a learning experience and trying to get, you know, whatever I can get out of that learning experience, just like if you show up for school every day, you know, find out what you find out, right? I definitely did learn a lot during my 27th year. When I look back, you know, even compared to now, I was living a really different lifestyle than I have because of my job. I had been bartending at a pretty nice bar in town, specialty place, and now I'm working at the grocery store. Definitely a dramatic decrease in income, but personally, I'm a lot happier than I was at my previous job. Vending at art markets was definitely a huge goal of mine, and that's something that I got to do during my sophomore year that I'm pretty happy with. I got to participate in 2 art markets and an art gallery. So I got to share my art, I got to sell some of it, and I'm still sort of in the process of all of that. I realized that I didn't have the amount of product that I really would like to sell in order to vend at markets, and that's something that's going to take me some time to really get to. Once I realized that, well, so I opened my shop and I started doing some art markets. I was definitely spending more on the fees for my shop than I was earning in the beginning, so I eventually closed my online shop and switched over to just doing Redbubble, so I can put all my stuff on there and then people can come buy it, and it doesn't take up quite as much. It's free for me to put my stuff on there, so I'm not paying a monthly fee like I was when I first started with my online shop open. I definitely found that when working with my coach that I did also want to really increase my income through my business. I did increase my income, but not so substantially. Certain things about learning about coaching and being coached in the frame of anti-perfectionism, I think it helped me a lot because, you know, before all of this, I'd been trying to get stuff out there for years and kept, you know, having roadblock after roadblock, and you know, so much of it had to do with what was going on in my life and not necessarily like something I was doing quote unquote wrong in my business. But working with Kendall allowed me to kind of start to believe that there's nothing you can do wrong, or like, I don't know, right and wrong. There are things that are right and wrong, but they're very relative terms, and especially when you start looking at something creative, which a business is creative, it helped me, my work with her helped me let go of a lot of expectations that weren't really mine. So I can definitely say, like, stuff like having to post at a certain time or do something to please a social media algorithm. Those are things that I definitely like let go of really purposefully through my coaching experience. And while it didn't lead to me, you know, massively increasing my income, it let me move through my own life. And I have to say that that's, you know, about as big of a deal as as if, you know, if I had a shitload of money and could go out to any store and buy anything, like, that'd be great. But, you know, it's more so that if I want to make some art, I go make some art. If I want to rest after a long day at work, I don't feel bad for doing something like that. Like, you know, it's let me accept my own process in that way. And while I didn't see I didn't see the income increase, I did get some of my own life force back to myself. That's one way I could put it. So it was really valuable for me. Definitely an investment worth making in my business. And before I even started going through coaching with Kendall, I, you know, told myself, I think I'm ready for the right coaching experience in the right place and time when it comes to me. And it came to me right then and there. And I had, you know, the time, the money, the opportunity. I went through the program. I learned a lot. And, you know, at this point in time, I still have all that knowledge and I have everything that I got to take with me. But I also, like, now, you know, sitting where I am, I wouldn't go through another coaching program, even if it was for something that was like a different aspect of the entrepreneurship process. Like, I went through coaching once and I saw where it got me. And, you know, I wouldn't really care who the coach was. I'm not interested in coaching anymore and probably won't be for quite some time, because I still have a lot to apply that I have learned from my coaching time. When I look back, there were some really nice things about my lifestyle, and that I did get to travel really frequently. Even if that was within the state or like less than an hour away, I still got to go kind of because I felt like it. That part was nice. I got to qualify for my house, and I get to keep it. I was exhausted working for two people, just to pay the bills. And now, you know, I get to have half the work. It's different work. And I really love bartending. I got my bartending certificate in 2018. I've been doing it for years. I did get to learn a lot about mead. So mead is a honey-based alcohol, which they serve at the bar I used to work at. It's also a specialty thing. And I got to visit most of the meaderies in Arizona. I got to learn a lot about, you know, this specialty drink and serve it and get to try a lot of, you know, varieties of just pretty fancy stuff that, you know, not everyone gets to try. It was definitely a really unique experience. I can say for myself, and I can read in the notes that I'm reading so I can make this video, that I was dealing with a lot of burnout, and that after a certain point, at least in my job, I didn't feel like I was gaining any more skills, and I was just kind of repeating the same motions over and over and not expanding on you know, my service level or the amount of drinks I could make. I mean, everything was just kind of staying the same. So after a certain point, I wasn't learning as much, and I had other issues that were going on, and eventually what led to me leaving that job was that I had a transportation issue. But I can tell you that it was a good move for me to make, and that I'm not as burnt out as I was when I worked there. I can say, though, that I definitely put a lot of effort into, like, learning new skills and trying to learn in other areas. One thing that's in my notes and that I'll also just mention, I went to an experimental festival for artists, musicians, creators of any kind. This was in Flagstaff. It's called Mosaic, and we're coming up on Mosaic weekend for this year. So that was the first year Mosaic. This is the second weekend, and just getting to go to that and see what an experimental not-for-profit gathering would look like is pretty cool. Obviously, I'm into business, I'm into anti-capitalism, and I'm into festivals. So this definitely caught my eye, and I got to go and see, you know, what that looked like. One of the biggest things I gained a couple things from going there. One of the biggest things is that I started really getting into hooping, or just more into flow arts. I'd been flowing since 2015, since I started raving, but I hadn't really picked it up or learned any new props in a long time, and this definitely introduced me to new props, and it also got me really into like part of the reason that you learn flow arts, people have different motivations for doing it, but my motivation has mostly to do with using that physical flow to get into a life flow, and to sort of break through like mental obstacles, or by learning how to flow using flow arts, you really can get into like your life flow and moving from task to task more easily, going with stuff. It has done a lot for like my mental health state, my lifestyle in general. So I'm really glad I got that out of it. Another thing I got out of it is that this was around tax return season for me then, which is part of, how I got to do a lot of this stuff on the trip. Like I got to visit a meadery on the way and do some cool stuff. But I purchased my DJ deck last year for Mosaic because I thought I might have the opportunity to play on some open decks. And while I've DJ'd before, several times before this, certainly, I didn't have my own equipment until last year. And I got it thanks to me going to Mosaic. And now it's been a year since I've had this equipment, and unfortunately I haven't used it as often as I'd like to. But sometimes when I do use it, I will like rock my own face, and I'm like, all right, cool. But even, my friend Stefan, my producer on my track that I've written so far, he and I DJ'd the other day, and he mentioned, he's like, I can tell that you've improved a lot just by having this. And I'm like, yes, it's just by having the instrument like on hand makes such a big difference in being able to, like, if I get an idea, I can go in there and play it and put it together. I don't have to wait weeks or days or however long until I get to a deck, and that's something that I don't know, I have a lot that's coming up to mind about this. There's a lot that, like, I started DJing for my high school dances when I was 15 or 16, but I didn't have access to this instrument until I was 27. Like, it took 10 years for me to have access to a $300 musical instrument. And that's definitely a part of my story. It's certainly a part of many other artists' stories. Like, there are plenty of other excellent artists out there who don't have access to musical instruments, or artists who don't have a stylist because it costs, even a few dozen dollars or $100 or a few $100s. These things aren't always accessible to everyone. We think of something, being like $50, like, cool, like, yeah, I'll get that. But if you live paycheck to paycheck, it doesn't always work out like that. And yet I'm here, like, about to go to EDC as a VIP because of the work I did last year. Not everyone can roll with like a lifestyle change like I did. That's something that I've noticed. Like, I had an income increase, and then I have an income decrease. That affects people in a really big way. It's not something you can just bounce back from as easily. But I have to say, like, that's part of me taking advantage of my 20s. Like, I already know that I'm as young as I'm ever going to be, and, one day I'll be older and I'll be looking back, and, people wish they could, like, maximize their lives, but maybe you don't want to maximize it. Maybe you just want to hang out with your friends or your family or your loved ones. There's all different ways to approach life, but I'm definitely trying to, like, use my 20s to the max while also enjoying them. And that is exactly why it's taken me this long to put this second video out, because at a certain point I was, going through the motions, thinking about my life as a learning experience and not actually living it. But I, at some point during that time, I started going with the flow. Yeah, I started doing flow arts. That's probably part of it. It's like I'd go with it, and I have to say, I'm really thankful to my coach Kendall for sharing that attitude with me, because I wouldn't be who I am if I hadn't gone through the coaching program. I would still be, back there somewhere. I'd be a different person altogether. And because of that, I definitely think it's important that I've put off making this video for some extra time. At this point, I'm 28. I've been 28 for almost 10 months. So this video is like about a full year, quote unquote, late. But I mean, even, you know, I'm the one putting it out. This is, you know, on me and my energy and what I have going on to make it happen. And I've had a lot going on the last couple of years, like in a pretty serious way. So this video being late is definitely part of my process, and I'm happy that I'm, you know, sitting here filming this now and putting it out, and this is as much a part of my story as anything else I was doing for the last year. And I'm gonna make this my final point, because it is. In this world that we live in, where we have ChatGPT and AI, and you can, you know, give a computer program a prompt and end up with an essay, and where we have all these rebooted TV shows and all of these remixed songs that are just samples from the 80s and the 90s. Don't think that it doesn't make a difference to be doing your own shit and to be living your own life based on your own creativity and your own sense of what is going on in your world. Like, are you doing what you're doing to fit in, to keep up appearances, to maintain the status quo? Or are you doing it because it makes you feel good, because it makes you a better person, because it improves your life? These are, you know, you think it's a simple question, but why are you doing the things you do? I can definitely say that my sophomore year of my 20s, my 27th year, has taught me a lot. I can't change anything about it now, and I wouldn't. I can only go forward from here. And at this point, we're going to be getting the next video, like, pretty soon. Like, I'm almost done with this junior year here. And if you'd like to keep up with it, don't forget to subscribe to my channel and follow me on my other socials, because that's where I have been posting a lot more. And I look forward to seeing how this junior year of mine closes out and sharing it with you. So please be on the lookout for that video. And I will see you guys again soon on the internet, or off, or both.